Welcome to the Manifestation Babe podcast. My name is Catherine Zinkina, and I'm a manifestation expert, master mindset coach, and multiple seven-figure entrepreneur. I'm obsessed with helping you achieve everything that you once thought was impossible. If you're looking to massively up-level your life, your finances, your relationships, your productivity and success, then you have come to the right place. My goal in this podcast is to help you see the infinite potential within yourself to be, do, and have anything that your heart desires. Think of this podcast as your weekly dose of mindset development to help you maximize who you are and where you're going. Leave it to me to provide you with the tools, the resources, the strategies, and teachings that you need to manifest a reality wilder than your wildest dreams. I know we're about to have so much fun together, so thank you so much for pushing play today. And now let's begin. Hello, my beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of the Manifestation Babe podcast. So this is part 2 of my MBA Alumni Success Series, where I recently sat down with a few of my incredibly inspiring and all so very different past MBA students that share how their life has been completely transformed by the Manifestation Babe Academy. If you're not already familiar with my signature program, that essentially breaks down the entire A through Z of manifestation. Like, I literally put everything into it and helps you completely shift your inner world, your outer world, and the definition, the reality of what's possible for you in just the span of 20 weeks. If you're not familiar before, well, now you are. I tell my students all the time that you literally will not recognize yourself the day you begin your program and who you become on the last day of the program. It is wild. And it's my favorite kind of metamorphosis to witness. It never fails to amaze me. So today I'm sitting down with gut health nutritionist Alison, who used MBA to get pregnant with baby number 2, create consistent 20K plus months in her business and counting, become an Amazon bestselling author, and build a confidence within her and the universe that is simply unshakable. As you're listening to this episode, if you're like, oh my God, I see myself in Alison, this is exactly the kind of transformation that I want for myself too, then you are super in luck because MBA, the Manifestation Babe Academy, just opened up for enrollment today. So the wait is finally over. Here's your opportunity. Now it's your turn to create the life you've always imagined for yourself that far exceeds what you once thought was possible and makes that which is unrealistic, whatever you think is unrealistic right now, is going to one day be your new normal. The doors close this Friday, March 10th. So if you are ready to go all in, you can head over to manifestationbabe.com/MBA. That's M as in manifestation, B as in babe, A as in academy to secure your spot in the March 2023 round right now. Again, that's manifestationbabe.com/MBA. Okay, Alison. So I want to know, paint this picture for me. Where were you before you even found out that there was such a thing as the Manifestation Babe Academy? Like, what was life like? What were some of your struggles? What were some of your thoughts? Like, take me through that point of your life before you entered the Manifestation Babe Academy.
Okay, yes. So I would say, I first found your podcast, and I think that was probably how I started to hear about MBA. But I think what led me to finding you and all these different things is just kind of feeling like I was in a hamster wheel with a lot of stuff with life, with a lot of goals. I'm very goal-oriented, perfectionist or recovering perfectionist, as we like to say, right? Type A. Doing all the things. So I had been on kind of my own personal healing journey with an autoimmune disease for quite some time, and fertility struggles and sort of all these things, and being an entrepreneur, which, as you know, is like your greatest personal development tool, apparently. So it was really coming to a head with like personal healing, being an entrepreneur, I was just seeing that these patterns of like doing all the things and burning out and not letting go, like really being a bit of a control freak in a lot of ways, was just hindering my ability to really get far, to see things come to fruition. And I always could see that at the second I would let go, things would come to me. And it's like, oh, you just have to like let go. And at some point I found your podcast, and I remember a specific episode, like I was on a walk in a neighborhood that I never thought I'd be able to live in and afford, like all the, like I was kind of like in an element of like, oh, I probably manifested this a little bit. And I was listening to your podcast, and you said something that I remember vividly just really resonating with me. And that was talking about like how the universe can kind of be like a parent and maybe knows what's best for the baby or the toddler. Like you had some example of like, if the baby doesn't want to go for a nap, but you know, as the parent that there's going to be an awesome like birthday party.
Yeah.
And if you just wait, you know, if you just put the baby to bed a little, like to nap early, and they're kicking and screaming and they don't get it, but like you do as the parent. And if they just let go, like they're gonna have the best time at the party. I just remember that resonating so much as a new mom too. And me just realizing like, that's what I'm doing. I'm like kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
I'm like holding on, and I'm not able to see all the things that are coming to me. So it just started hitting me more and more. I needed to let go. I needed to lean into more of these types of tools. And that's kind of where I was, though. I was definitely doing too much.
I love that. First of all, I love that you brought up that metaphor, because I remember one day it just hit me and I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. Like this is how it works. And then you said going into business is like the best personal development lesson, school, academy, whatever you want to call it. I have since come to find out it is business plus having a child. Like I feel like children having a baby, I mean, I can't really describe him as like I know what it's like to have children yet because he's only 6 months old, but I have to say just the amount of growth and strength I found in myself and all these triggers that have come up within me that I have been like, oh shit, like this is a new level of healing here to do. It's definitely that too.
Yes.
Like so much props to parents, business owners. I mean, I think every piece of life or every aspect of life can come with like, you know, growth, and does come with growth, not can come with growth. But oh my gosh, like business will teach you so much. Being a parent teaches you so much. So I know where you're coming from when you're describing this. Can you just kind of like describe like where were you at in your business, just so we get some like tangible feels for like the before and after picture? Like what did your business look like? What do you do for business in the first place? Like share some of those details as well.
Yeah, I'd love to. So I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner, and I have a cookbook, the Paleo Gut Healing Cookbook, which I'll
Ooh,
get to, part of some things I manifested.
yeah.
And so I run like one-on-one and group coaching programs for women with autoimmune disease and gut issues and hormonal imbalances and all that kind of stuff. Because that's stuff that I went through and I had to figure it out. And I went back to school and I did all these things. So I'm doing all that online on the interwebs. And it's been, you know, just like a lot of learning and figuring things out and getting out of my own way and dealing with ego and
For sure.
all these other things that, you know, you have supported me on. But yeah, and so essentially in terms of like tangible and business kind of stuff, it was a lot of, because this is where a lot of people start, especially with nutrition or any kind of online coaching, was a lot of one-on-one work. And trying to figure all that out, and how can you maybe scale and not burn out in a way that you're constantly taking so many one-on-one clients. So I was, you know, kind of dealing with that, playing with different things, running in a lot of different directions, right? You know, when you get online and you're dealing with business coaches and all these things,
Yes.
This one tells you to do a course and this one tells you to do an ebook, and, you know, you're doing a million things, right? And I had just kind of finished up doing also a cookbook, which was a big dream of mine because I've had a food blog for a long time, longer than being a nutritionist. And that was kind of a culmination for me. And I was realizing I was getting closer and closer to like, dude, you need to like pick a thing. You need to just scale down a little bit to scale up if you really want to. And so I was going through a bit of that. And I also had joined BBD. So I think that's also where I had heard of you, you know, from James Wedmore and all that kind of stuff. So that was also helping me get a little bit more into this mindset, get a little more out of my own way, and recognize I had a lot of issues probably with workaholism and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's kind of where that was. And in terms of like, I'm trying to think like workload and stuff. I mean, I would be working on weekends. I was just thinking the more I could work, then that's the more money I had to
Right.
make.
Yeah.
A lot of things you share too in your past, like similar stuff where, I grew up not having a lot of money and grew up thinking, oh, if you want to be wealthy or make a lot of money, well, you've got to kind of sell your soul for that. And you have to
For
give up
sure.
family life, right? Or personal
Yeah.
life or anything like that. And as a new mom, that wasn't going to work for, you know how it is, like being with your baby. You want to be with your baby. You want to like enjoy the moment and all these things. So there was a lot of that going on. I was very up and down on my monthly revenue. And I needed to get that into a better place. I was still like, in terms of like geeky tax kind of information, I was like still a sole proprietor, paying way too much money on my taxes probably. I was blindsided every time taxes were due. So I'm like, how much? Like it was coming out of my personal account. I'm like, oh my God. So all these like money issues were coming up.
Yeah.
And I was just feeling, like I don't know, like so much was happening and I couldn't get a good firm grasp on it.
Yeah.
And I remember the same summer I had signed up for MBA, one of your podcasts had also resonated with me in thinking of like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I came to this realization of like, wait, I'm not acting as like a CEO of a digital business would. I'm not like the bee do having right now.
Yeah.
I'm like getting blindsided by my account numbers, by my credit card, by taxes. Like that's not at all what a CEO would be doing. I need to hire an accountant. I need to become a legit LLC. Like it became very clear that I needed to fix some stuff under the hood, and I did.
Yeah.
So I remember getting a lot of my ducks in a row at that time.
I love that. I want to call that your like awakening. You're like awakening from
Yeah.
this dream where you're just like, oh shit, I've been kind of sleeping through things. And like, I just want to say,
Yes.
as a business owner has very much gone through the same stuff. I will never forget my first CPA being absolutely horrified by what he found and like just like how are you surviving? Not that it was just like a mess. Like he's like, how are you keeping track of anything in here? How the hell do you already make $1 million? Like what is going on? Like let's just fix some shit over here. Like I'm like, I don't know. He's like, how have you been paying taxes? And I'm like, I don't know. I've just been kind of estimating using TurboTax on
Yeah.
my own. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But that's like, that's
Yes.
what, that's how I know, like, that's the reason, first of all, why you're on this podcast. Like, I know we haven't gone into like your transformation yet, but I know it's fucking good because these are the kind of people like you, like I, like so many, I'm pretty sure everyone listening on this podcast, like there's an element to all of us around this, which is like, you just get started before you're ready. Like there's a part of you just that knows that you are meant for more. And if you just go on the path, follow your path, let your soul guide you. Even if it's messy, at least you are moving in the right direction. And that's better than not moving at all. So there's so much progress to be proud of in every single aspect, even if it looks like a mess to other people. Like that's the point of life. At some point, you figure it out. And then you look back and you're like, what was I thinking? But now, this version of you
Yes.
currently, this time next year, you're going to be looking back at like Alison in February of 2023. Yeah, we're in 2023, looking back and be like, what was she thinking? What was Catherine thinking? Like, it's
100%.
it's the point of life, and I love that. I think it's so exciting. Okay, so you got into MBA, and at one point, did you notice like something is shifting here? Like something's working, something's changing, shit is starting to transform. And if so, like at what point was that for you?
Yeah, I think there were honestly so many points, but there's certain things because it was like 6 months. And
Yeah.
what I loved and I hated, I should say, right? Because like I said, okay, this perfectionistic sort of like mentality of like, okay, give me the to-do list. How do I manifest? Right? Like
Uh-huh.
step one,
Uh-huh.
step two, step three, let me check things off. No, it's not quite like that. Like, yes, you do have a lot of things to kind of scratch that itch, but it is really this like individual, very personalized thing that you start to create in MBA that I love and it's so funny because I try to do that with my nutrition clients because I know everything is so bio individual,
Yes.
but you had to like make me do this with this too. You had to show me it's like, this is what this is as well. It's not going to be everyone manifests A, B, C like this. And I so appreciated that, because even something you just said about like taking messy aligned action is not what I thought as a perfectionist, especially, right? It's something you think is like, no, let me get all my ducks in a row first, then I start. And then you never start because that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
So I loved that. I started feeling like when I started getting going, and there were so many layers to it before we really just like, got into some more brass tacks. There was a lot of learning, a lot of unlearning, a lot of releasing. The release phase kicked my butt. I think that was part of one of my aha moments of like, oh, this is good. This is really good. Because, you really helped me shine a light on those things, like on the things that I felt like, oh, but I addressed this already in my healing journey. Or I addressed this here, I addressed this there. These things keep popping up. And that was a big aha moment when I had to keep going through that, going through it even a little bit longer than some others. Maybe I was like, well, I have to stay here a little longer because I know that these things are blocking me. So that was really helpful, and definitely aha moment of like, this is going to help me shift stuff, because these little, naysaying thoughts that would pop up, or as I would like journal and do the workbooks and say like, okay, this is my goal, or this is what I'm manifesting, I'd have those constant thoughts like, you can't do that. Lower that number.
Yeah.
That's not realistic. And I know you always talk about that, and you're like, just write it down anyway. Just like keep going. But it was really helpful to be able to go through all those phases. So that was really big for me. And then I think getting a lot of sort of pats on the back from the universe throughout the time, seeing things start to come, seeing that I didn't have to grind as much as I thought I did, or at all, to kind of get them, like just really seeing that proof is in the pudding. And that when I did let go, when I did surrender, when I did have that energy of like, it's already coming. So why are you, like the Amazon thing that you always say, like when you order from Amazon, just, it's coming. You're not freaking out about it. Yeah. So as I started just like loosening up more and doing a lot of the practices and just letting go and being curious and seeing what happened, I just started to notice more signs or more proof of like, that already happened for you and you didn't even realize it, or whatever. It just felt a lot more aligned. Like I was tuning into this stuff a lot more and paying attention to it.
Yeah.
And that felt so good. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I hear that feedback a lot. And this is something I intentionally planned MBA to be a program, not where I just automatically give you step 1 through 10 or whatever, because I think that that's what you're going to find on the internet. Like you guys can Google it. Like there's the manifestation process that is filtered through 1,000 different perspectives, that if you just take out like, okay, what is the commonalities behind all these 10 different systems or processes? Like you can figure out, okay, step 1 is probably like define what you want, right? Like everyone can come up with that, and you can just easily Google that. What makes MBA unique is like, for example, so many people, let's just compare manifestation to like buying a new home, and like, let's say you're decorating a new home. And so with each step that you take in the manifestation process, let's say you're putting in the couch, you're putting in the table, you're putting in the chairs or whatever. But guess what? Someone swiped or sweep some shit under the carpet, right, in the living room. And all of a sudden it fucking stinks. And you can't figure out like, what is this smell? What is this stink? Oh, it's shit under the carpet. Oh, it's okay. We can just leave it there. Just keep going. Just keep decorating. It's whatever. It's like, no. First we come in and we gotta clean the whole house. We gotta find the dog poop that somehow got under the rug or under the carpet, whatever. We gotta do all that cleaning. We have to understand first and foremost, like, why are you in this house in the first place? What does this home represent? Blah, 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 blah. Let's clean it up. And then now that we have this incredible clean and clear, free and clear foundation, now let's bring in the decor so that we're not just living in a house that also stinks at the same time. We're living in a house that is just so beautiful to be in. Like I always say, like, let's create a reality that feels just as good as it looks on the outside, because we know examples of people who are incredibly wealthy, but also miserable. And that's not the point, right? We don't want to be miserable while having a Ferrari parked in our garage and living in a mansion. Like we really do want to create this holistic, wholesome feeling, just very light, energizing, incredible reality. And that's what I created MBA for. It's not just like, let me just journal and do the 369. Like I was on Amazon the other day and I was just floored because I was buying books to give away. And I remember going through like my whole history of just reminding myself like what were those early books around manifestation that were really impactful for me. So I went into my Amazon order history from like 2016, 2017, 2018 and just checked. And then I decided to type in manifestation into Amazon just to see what comes up, like manifestation books. And I was absolutely floored at how almost every single search result had to do with like the 555 method or 369 method, which there's nothing wrong with this. But these are tools, these are accessories. This is like makeup,
Yes.
right? Like these are things that accentuate the manifestation process when the manifestation process actually is like in your example, it's the wellness, it's the health, right? It's underneath the surface, what's going on in your biology, not just like what you look like on the outside. And I know for some people it's like frustrating. You're like, oh, Catherine, just give me the steps. But I promise you, if you just
Yes.
follow what I laid out for you, there's a reason why I created it this way. So I love that you share that. Can you share with us? Can you paint the
And it is
picture?
like a
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I love what you said and just wanted to highlight that again because it really does feel like that everyone is looking for the magic pill, right? With
Exactly.
everything. I come across this too. And
Yeah.
I've been there where there is no magic pill. You just kind of keep throwing spaghetti at the wall, but nothing's actually made for you. There, you can Google any diet. You can
Right.
Google any, right? You can consume all this stuff, podcasts, whatever. But ultimately, like what's going to work for you is what's going to work. And
Yes.
I feel like people might hear like, no, but if I did have the Ferrari or if I
Yeah.
did have the perfectly designed home, but you're right. It's like you don't know what you want until you're actually in action with it. And even defining, like, I was looking at my old notebook and everything, and I was writing down some things that had really resonated when you say polarity creates clarity or something to that
Uh-huh.
effect.
Uh-huh.
And you were essentially saying, like, when you know what you don't want, then you know what you will
Do
do
want.
want,
Yeah.
essentially. And I think so many times people just don't know what they want. They just see other people's vision boards and they're like, well, I should want this or I should want that because that means success. And I think that when we can get into, no, let me try some things on for me, like you said, like it's makeup or it's, whatever, like let me try certain things on. Let me really clear the dust and clear the foundation a little bit, clean that up, and then start to build. That's what I love
Yeah.
because you're teaching us how to fish. You're not just giving us the fish, so to speak, because there
Oh,
really is only so much of that.
so good. Okay. Can you take us to where you are currently? Like paint the picture of, the program's over. And I know it's been some time because I asked you which round you were in. And I believe you said 2021, summer 2021. So there's been some time
Yes.
that has
Mhm.
passed. Can you paint the picture of like what has happened since then? Where are you now?
Oh my gosh. So I like tripled my monthly income.
Yeah, baby.
And that was, yeah. So like, I also in my notebook, like I have it here in my special little MBA notebook, but I wanted to manifest 20K months. I did that by the end of the MBA rounds, but now I'm past that. And I also did like your epically aligned recently. I'm always like in more of the workshops too, because I just love the reinforcement. I love the like
Yeah.
battery charge on these things. Um, so that's like in terms of like monetary stuff, definitely got a lot more clarity in my business. Like I said, like it started with those little things. Like now I look at certain hires or support that I've reached out for, and it's like, yes, like that's what I needed to be doing. Like you said, future Alison, kind of looking back at past Alison. I definitely did a lot of work around releasing certain blocks. I think I was able to figure out what those were a little bit more. They weren't maybe surface level what I previously thought.
Mm-hmm.
And even since you've been sharing so much about RRT, I'm so excited to see more of that
Yeah.
coming. But I've done a lot with that, even like kind of booked an RRT therapist in New York and kind of worked a little bit deeper on some more of that stuff. And it was just phenomenal. So thank you for that. My book was Amazon bestselling in paleo and abdominal diseases, such like weird categories, but I'll take it.
Yes.
That was something I was hoping to manifest, like Amazon bestselling, and just connecting to all the reviews and like people tagging me in food photos on Instagram and like,
Oh,
oh my God, I'm just like floored, and
yeah.
I really try to receive it, and not like as a pat on the back, but like, yes, keep going. Cause so many times we'll just like only receive the negative comments or that kind of silly stuff. So I've been working on that. What else? I would also say, okay, so this summer, so in comparison to the 2021 summer where I was like a maniac, to then the summer after, the year later, I conceived my second child, which was part of my manifestation. Thank you. As well. So that was exciting because it was also very easy and very surprising how fast it happened. So almost a year to the date of me signing up, I was then pregnant with my second kid. And I was like, wow. I'm trying to think what else. So it was like business, the personal stuff, my own health as well.
List.
I know, right? You're like, I mean, this is all good. Yeah. So yeah, pregnancy number 2 was what I wrote down. And then the other thing as well, I had 4-day work weeks that whole summer. Got to spend Fridays with my daughter. We did a little art class, little fun stuff. You know, it was these little things that I'd realized like, wow, so I'm making double at that point, double the amount of money. I'm working less. I got pregnant with baby number 2.
You're living the dream.
And I didn't grind more. Yeah, it was just like, wow, you know, and so many more things have come just even in the past 6 months. So, you know, even from doing like ethically aligned and all these other things that I'm like, wow, check, gotta do it again now. Gotta keep going. This is awesome. So, and that's what I love too, is being able to revisit and see like, okay, cool, you made all that progress, or revisiting the ladder of believability. That is something you really teach that was so helpful for me. You know, kind of revisiting that stuff and just like building upon it is so helpful. Because again, you don't just give the fish, you tell me how to do it again, repeat it. How do I keep doing this? You know, or how do I maybe go back to something and see, oh, you see, okay, you weren't ready for that. This is what it really needed to be. So as I even looked at this journal today, you know, before chatting with you, I was just like, wow, mind blown.
I love that. Yeah. I love looking back at like past manifestations, because sometimes you really like, you're so in it. And I'll never forget the first time this happened, where I was so in it that I didn't realize I hit my first 10K month until like 3 weeks after I hit it, where I was like, my intuition tells me to go count my money because I haven't in like a couple weeks. And then I realized, I'm like, wait a second, no wonder I feel so stuck. I'm focusing on this 10K month, being frustrated why I haven't manifested it yet. And yet I literally made over that the last month and I just didn't fucking know it. And so it's fun to like have the obvious manifestations of like, oh yeah, I can obviously see it right in front of my face, but also being like, wait, I prayed for that one day. Like I really wanted that this time last year, or even 5 years ago, or even 10 years ago. And now I take it for granted. What? And so going through like just anyone listening, just to give you a piece of value, like just write shit down. Like this is why you have a gratitude list. This is why you have like a desires list or a manifestation list or whatever list you want to call it. Have a list, because it's so much fun to see that, yes, you are a natural born manifester. I'm not really teaching you how to manifest. I'm helping you remember how to manifest, because all of us are natural born manifestors. This is what we do as children. And I love like watching Orion, and yes, he's like super young. He's less than 7 months old. So he's not even talking yet, but I can't wait, because I've, seen children, obviously like just the way that they communicate, just the way that they dream, the way their imagination runs, the way that they just like have this like very like naive, and I don't mean naive in a negative way, just like this naive expectation of how the world works and things.
Like innocent.
It's so innocent, so beautiful. So it's just like coming back to that and just recognizing like we are just children of the universe, and we have this loving parent in the sky, if that's how you want to see it. That's just something that helps me sometimes when I'm like, oh, I don't want to deal with this, like daddy or mommy universe, can you take care of this? Like help me out with this, do the heavy lifting. It's just so beautiful. And I thank you for sharing all your incredible manifestations. And I know that this is just the beginning for you, and there's so much more yet to come, which I know sounds so mind blowing, but it really is true. And my last question for you is, let's say like your BFF or someone you care about, or just someone that you know that this program can really help, is sitting on the fence and they haven't yet signed up, and they're feeling anxious or fearful or just nervous, or like, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know if Catherine is just making shit up. I don't know if Alison's lying to me. No, just kidding. I just like what would you tell them as a piece of advice or just something that has really helped you made the decision that you're like, whoa, I don't regret that decision at all. And this is what I want for you too.
I would say if you are like doing all that, like the mental gymnastics, like should I, shouldn't I, the money, to this, that, it's showing you that it's worth it right there. Why would it take up that much mental space if it wasn't clearly pulling at you in a certain way? And I think that especially for people who might be just overthinkers in general, like you're stuck in your head, it's like, wow, you double need this. You know what I mean? Like you need to be able to understand and learn so much more about where those things are coming from and how you can maybe lead a little bit more with intuition. Because as someone who I've always been like into this stuff, like curious about this stuff, but I never thought I was very intuitive or like, could tap into stuff, anything like that. And it was so nice to be able to see, like you said, it's like, you need to kind of remember these things.
Yeah.
And in our modern day lives, it's like, we're so distracted. We're, so cerebral. It's not very easy to be there, but you really help through the process, through customizing it for each person, through teaching them. It's not just like you give the thing. It's like, no, you're teaching us how to use this stuff in our lives. Like that's an incredible value and support, I think, to kind of just keep being able to think critically. It's like actually valuable. So that's what I would say is like, if you are that much like back and forth, like just do it. And you're never going to know until you do it. And I have to share a tiny story. And I think you might've heard about this, Catherine, but so when I signed up, it was like literally right at the cutoff. Like, I don't even know how the sales page still worked. I don't think it technically should have, but like, I think the countdown was like just about to like time out. I had food poisoning. And my like human design is like sacral generator. And, I should be going with my gut, and I'm a gut health nutritionist. It was just a whole thing where I'm like, oh my God, I can't tap into my gut because my gut is a hot mess right now. And I'm sick to my stomach. I don't know what happened. So I had food poisoning. I was so sick. And I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to like tap into myself? Like, go with my gut on this situation. And I whipped out a pendulum that I had. And I was like, all right, pendulum, like maybe you can tell me what to do. And it did. And I signed up and I was like, I don't even know why this expiration date is still working. I'm just squeaking in. And so for me, even it was kind of this back and forth and this dramatic thing. And like, am I really going to like spend this money on a manifestation program? And it's like, it was awesome. I never once for a second regretted it. It was just great. And I keep going and I keep following you and learning. So I would say just do it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I received that. Thank you so much. That's such great advice. Such a great point. Like you're on the fence for a reason. Like you're there. Maybe you can think about the fact that like, wait a second, I'm on this fence for a reason. That has to mean something. I know that for me, whenever I'm like, should I, why do I feel so like attracted to this thing? It's like, maybe it's meant for me. Maybe that's why, because the thing is that things aren't meant for you wouldn't even come into your consciousness. And that was something mind blowing that my friend Makosi, who I worked with at one point, who's a shaman, she was talking about how if you're not meant to work through, like I said, is everyone meant to be wealthy? Like, are there certain souls that chose to like, be poor in a lifetime or whatever? Or does everyone genuinely like, can every single person on this planet be like, I want to be wealthy? And she said, absolutely every single person can be wealthy. But the thing is that the people who, let's just say like maybe they aren't destined to in this lifetime, they wouldn't even have a conception. They wouldn't even think of the fact that their circumstances could be different. And the people who are, of course, you're like part of your path is for you to experience abundance on this planet or whatever. You have those thoughts. You're like, wait, things could be different. Or maybe I should work with this mentor, or maybe I can do this RRT session or something. Like you're being guided to things for a reason. And the fact that that reality exists for you is like the fact that you're being led to those things is proof that that reality exists for you. So I think that's just a really great distinction that you brought up. So thank you so much, Alison. You are such an inspirational soul. I am, first of all, congratulations on baby number 2. I can't wait. You are getting so close, which is so exciting.
Yes.
And one day we'll also be at that transition between one child and 2 children. So you let me know how that goes. Give me all the tips and all the tricks and everything like that. And with that being said, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you absolutely loved what you heard today, be sure to share it with me by leaving a review on iTunes so that I can keep the good stuff coming your way. If you aren't already following me on social media, come soak up the extra inspiration on Instagram by following @ManifestationBabe or visiting my website at manifestationbabe.com. I love and adore you so much and can't wait to connect with you in the next episode. In the meantime, go out there and manifest some magic.